Is he a failure or a success? Wan Bissaka is reportedly set to join the long departing list from Manchester United as Ineos continues with their unsparing clear out. My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Hotspot. Subscribe, like, share, become a member as we do keep growing here on this Manchester United fan community. Now, we know probably it's not news that Wan Bissaka will be among those so many players who will be leaving the club. He has fallen out of grace for quite some time now, and it looks irreversible as Ineos don't think they can actually extend him. There are reports at some point that suggested that Manchester United was willing to trigger a one-year contract extension, but Sir Dave Brailsford, who has been leading the audit and the processes going on at Manchester United, seem to have vetoed this decision, saying, you know what, he's not good enough. We can get better. In fact, they seem to have the sources now where the money will come from. So, Wan Bissaka is reportedly going to be bidding farewell to Old Trafford together with Rafael Varane tonight and Anthony Martial before that game against Newcastle United, at least according to reports now. Whether that happens or not, the fact is we do know that Wan Bissaka will be leaving. It's no surprise. Now, I think he's one of those players who has brought divided attention. Super One, Super Spider One, if I would call him, has been, I think, one of those players you would love to hate or hate to love, whichever way you look at it, because before, when he joined Manchester United in 2019 from Crystal Palace, he was a very hot property. We thought we had got a player for the future. Remember, he's only 26 now, so bought him for about 45 million pounds from Crystal Palace in 2019 with an option of a further 5 million pounds to make it 50. That shows you how much expectation whoever recruited him had in him. And 1 year later, Jamie Carragher, I recall, rated him as the best one-on-one defender in Europe, in the world. In fact, he said in the world of football. And I think we clearly would see that he's good with his one-on-ones and his sliding tackles. I think no one was better than him at some point at his prime. He was way ahead of Diogo Dalot in the pecking order. But after falling off, I think got an injury. I think he has struggled to return to the same levels that he has become, I think, the joke of town, the joke of Manchester lately, with the way people are beating him off, the errors he makes at times out of position. He's mostly a defensive right back, but he has really fallen off. No wonder Diogo Dalot has, I think, bypassed him in terms of the pecking order. Diogo Dalot is the first choice right back for Manchester United. He has been playing, I think, back up on the left back where we have no options. So I think he has fallen out of grace, failed to earn a call up, even one call up for the England national team. He first played for his parents, Congo, his native Congo, before in 2015, before later joining the junior teams of England. He hasn't won a single cup for the senior team, but this is a player who was bought for nearly 50 million pounds by Manchester United. So it shows you probably that his levels have not been up there to where you want a Manchester United player to be, because Manchester United is expected to be producing players to be playing, I think, important roles in the senior team of England. Even when Ben White dropped off, Bissaka was never called up. Of course, like we said, the instabilities with these positions and his career himself, his injuries. But he has played over 120 games for Manchester United. But Ineos seem to have gathered options of where they're going to find the money, find a replacement for him, and have opted probably to keep Diogo Dalot. So that's where we are. So if an offer comes for Wan Bissaka, probably they have got one already. There was reports that the plan was to include him in a swap deal to try and send him back to Crystal Palace because he can still play in the Premier League. I think, don't get it twisted. He's not done, and he's only 26. That's one. But also, when he's fit, he can have good games. So we know that he can still play a big role in so many clubs in the Premier League. But I think Ineos are looking at a swap option because there was an option of triggering a 1 year contract extension with him. So it's not clear what the exact situation is with him, but what we know is that he will leave. Either they can trigger the 1 year and use him in a swap option, or let him leave for free, or even sell him. So we're yet to get clarity on what exactly they're going to do with him. But what we know is that he is leaving. Now, he's not alone. Anthony Martial as well is expected to be bidding his farewells to Old Trafford. I think this is one that we have known for the longest time. I think if there's one player that the whole Manchester United community loved so much when he joined, it was Anthony Martial. When he joined back then in 2015, imagine in 2015, this teenager with Louis van Gaal, the manager, was bought for a record fee of 47 million pounds. Of course, initially we paid 36 million, but we had three clauses of 7.2 million pounds each in his contract. I think two of those were made. So we paid in total about 47 million pounds for Anthony Martial. 2015. Upfront, we paid 36. Then the others, of course, based on him meeting one of some of the three clauses. He made, I think, only one. So or two of those. So you can imagine this player, the potential he had. When Martial joined Manchester United in 2015, he was being compared to Thierry Henry. He was one for the future. Of course, I remember Van Gaal saying his transfer fee was ridiculous because it was a record back then, beating a record that we had set for that United had set for. I think Luke Shaw the year before when he got him from Southampton, we paid a record fee for a teenager, and then a year later we pay. I think even Marquinhos, PSG bought. I think Marquinhos for the same fee that we bought Luke Shaw. So that record is that's the record that Martial broke for a teenager way back in 2015. So many years later, he has played over 200 games, scored about 60 goals, but we don't feel he has lived up to his full potential because he was likened, like I said, to Thierry Henry, who is arguably the best striker to ever grace English football. So it shows you that perhaps he has not really satisfied the supporters, but there's sections of Man United fans who feel like it's not really entirely up to him. It is bad luck a bit because of the injuries he's got. He has got so many injuries, but the club, you say, he's one of those players the club has been extremely patient with, even if he's not a native English. I think there's been a certain level of sympathy for Anthony Martial that you think shows you how much hope they had in him. But unfortunately, it hasn't been amazing. Of course, so many years, including one season of a loan to Sevilla, it didn't work out well, but he gave certain good memories, and he has shown that he was a good footballer. The attitude was questioned a bit. People found him a bit lazy. I think he had the talent, the skill, the natural flair, but there was that element of laziness that he lacked that extra, fire in him to try and push him more. But most importantly, we know the failure will be attributed most to the injuries and inconsistencies with his fitness. Because I think at times as a player, it gets to your head and you get frustrated if you have to get back on the sick bed all the time. You're in the doctor's room all the time. It gets to your head and say, "You know what? I've made the money. Let me just eat my and enjoy my money." So Martial will be leaving without a shadow of a doubt, and United are looking for options to replace him, and there are quite a number of those. We'll be looking at those. I think most likely. There's again divisions in who should come in, because there are so many young kids who are being linked with Manchester United, young and old, if I should say, strikers. Victor Roque, that is the Barcelona outcast, the 19-year-old Brazilian, and so many other players who people think that Manchester United should be signing. But we will get into that perhaps a bit later. For now, we're looking at those who are leaving. Now, another player who is expected to leave is Victor Lindelof. Now, Victor Lindelof, I think, also has been, unfortunately, unlucky because of injuries. Because if you ask me, I don't think Victor Lindelof is such a poor player. But he's a good squad player. You see the way we had John O'Shea, because I believe Vital Lindelof is a player who could even easily play in the middle if you have so many issues. But the issue is his fitness. Since he joined in 2017, I think he has not been really consistent in terms of fitness, especially in the last years. And I mean, this is a utility player who played as a midfield at some point in his career, by his own admission. And when he fights, he has the heart. He's just not extremely talented and gifted, but he had the heart and drive a bit. You felt, but it didn't work for him. And unfortunately, he's 29, so he's already aging. So he's definitely surplus to requirements at Man United. So he's one of those who will be leaving as well. And of course, we are still waiting to see again what the plan is for him. Are we getting some money from him? What exactly is going to be the situation? Of course, the clarity will be made by Ineos, but at least for now, it's confirmations coming out of which players will be leaving. So, but by and large, with most of these players who leave Manchester United, you realize that the central thing about all of them has been injuries. And yes, some are age with like Varane, and perhaps with Varane he came with his injury. But some of the injuries that these players have suffered at Manchester United, should be investigated. And Eric Ten Hag perhaps cannot come out openly and say what they discovered, because some injuries can be attributed to his time at Man United, and people can say his training methods and what have you. But some, like for example, Martial, were way before him. But one thing that again keeps coming back in my mind when I see all these injuries is what Cristiano Ronaldo said about the lack of quality in the facilities at Manchester United for a long time. And these facilities contribute a lot to these injuries players have. If they don't have a good gym to help them with their, work downs after an intense, game, how do you work out to maintain your body, to calm it down after an intense Premier League a week, because the schedule is always tight in the Premier League. After an intense game, how do you wind down? How do you calm your body down? You need good facilities to be able to do that. You look at things like players need to spend some extra time in the gym. Have they been doing this? Do they just play football on the pitch and go with what the manager gives them? Do they do extras? So there's lots of things that contribute to these injuries that have bettered careers of players who we know could have had, I think, more time at Manchester United, but also have clearly shown that they have got better potential than what they realized. So it is unfortunate, but again, these are the things that Ineos are trying to put together and correct, hoping that the results will then keep coming and steadily so for Manchester United. So that's the situation with the departees. I'll just stick to those for a bit, and we wait for the game tonight, as we do hope that Manchester United will come back to winning ways at home against a stubborn Newcastle. Of course, the player to watch in that one will be none other than Alexander Isak. For me, that's the player to watch. Very lethal player. But let's wait and see what happens with that. My name is Webb. My prediction of the game tonight is that Man United won't lose. We won't lose another game, really. I don't think we'll lose. Probably a draw. But again, it will all depend on how these players are psyched up coming into the game. Subscribe to the United Sport, and let me catch you later.